Hi, Chris.
Hey, Heidi. Uh, we're both here and we're painting. What are we painting? You sent me an image with a whole lot of green in it, which I don't know if you know. I'm not a big fan of green. And
Uh-oh.
in I kind of hope that you did that on purpose just to challenge me.
Sure, I did. No, actually, I knew you liked landscapes. I noticed we both
Oh,
paint a
okay.
lot of landscapes.
Yes. So where is this landscape? Is this where you are up near Indiana or?
This is in southern to central Indiana. We were just there last weekend camping with
Mhm.
my family.
Oh,
So
cool.
this is fresh from just last weekend. One of our favorite places to camp every year.
Nice. Yeah, it it looks very lush. I was just camping as well. I was doing a backcountry camp hike hybrid thing in Yellowstone Park by the Hill Roaring River, and yeah, that was interesting too. Don't have a lot of photos of that.
Really?
Um,
What sounds fascinating?
it was fascinating. It was a lot harder than I thought it would be. We packed in with another family, and I thought it was only going to be like a mile and a half hike
Oh,
in, but it turned out to be almost 4 miles and 1,000 feet of elevation. So,
oh my goodness.
yeah. Um,
Weren't prepared for that, huh?
yeah, when you go camping, is it like you just unload from your car to a site and then you kind of go and do all your recreational stuff, or?
Well, we're pretty heavy duty campers. We've been camping for over 30 years now.
Okay.
I'm going to give away my age. I just turned 50 last summer, so I'm going to squash any. But we started out in a tent years ago, and now we are in a travel trailer. So we're kind of glampers,
Oh,
but we rough it. Like we kayak, we hike extensively.
mhm.
But then we love to relax and sleep in the air conditioning so that we can get up and do it again.
Totally. I've been doing the RV thing for 12 years now, and I really prefer to have AC if I need it.
Absolutely.
All right. So, um, for people who are not familiar with your work, I was just talking to you before about how I've been following you on Instagram for quite a while, and we're both on Daily Paintworks now, and I really like um, kind of your minimal strokes that you do in a lot of your small works, and you're able to keep a lot of your pieces within like a mid-range, like a mid-key, where nothing is too contrasty, which is great too for the scale that you work at. Um, how long have you been painting? I mean, it seems for quite a while. Or
Yes,
have
it
you just
has.
started? Or
Oh
okay,
no, it has been a long time. Right out of high school, I went for a couple years to a university and studied fine arts and ran out of
oh,
money
which
and
one?
life. St. Francis, it was college at the time. Now it's university. It's in Fort Wayne
Okay.
and had some great professors there. I think I learned, uh, well, then I continued on after school with life, having kids, married, and have four
Hmm.
kiddos. But
Oh, that's
I've
great.
always been, yeah, I've always been painting. And I had the fortune to meet up with some plein air painters in Fort Wayne. And I don't know if you are familiar with Fred Delariso's work. He's a actually retired cardiologist now, but he's a fine art plein air painter. And he kind of took me under his wing and we painted for about a year just all over Indiana. And I really feel I learned so much just painting out in the field with
Heidi,
him.
that is fantastic. I don't know anybody.
Oh, yeah.
I,
Well, it was total
I have a lot
fortune.
of, yeah, I have a lot of like other artists, crafter friends in New Orleans, because that's where I sort of started. But as far as people who do what I do, I really don't know people, and that's kind of part of the reason I kind of came up with this idea several years ago of doing these side by side interview kind of paint things with people. It's still kind of vague and amorphous, but I really wanted to meet more painters, and there's only so much you can really do on social media. So
Right.
I think it's great that you were able to find someone kind of like
It
a
was,
mentor relatively quickly when you wanted to, it
yes,
is all about timing too.
it was. It was timing. It was a lot of luck because there was, I was painting, like I said, but it was kind of before internet took off. And I was a busy mom and I painted like 20 big paintings and I hauled them into a gallery in Fort Wayne and was fortunate that they took me on. And he was a painter there, or he was showing a lot of his work there. And that's how I met him. The owner of the gallery said, "Oh, Heidi, he likes to go out and paint with local artists." And oh my goodness, that was just the best launch for me to just really, there's static of working in a studio. I'm kind of an introvert, so I love working in the studio, but I also love working out on site, and you just have to work so fast. And
Hmm.
so I just really learned so much. It was a wonderful opportunity. Yes,
It's great.
that's for sure. But this is
I
a great idea,
Oh, thank you.
what you're doing. Oh my goodness, it gets me out of my comfort zone again. I appreciate that. I've been busy, so I don't really paint with other artists very much anymore. So,
Yeah, and now with the pandemic, it's kind
oh,
of difficult to even plan anything like that, and so many events have been postponed. I know everything that I was planning on doing as far as plein air events go for all spring and into the summer were all
yes,
canned.
mine too, and it's very discouraging.
Well, I'm happy that that they didn't just kind of say the hell with it and go forward. You know, I'm glad
True. That's true.
that everyone sort of had the
Safety
public
first.
good in mind.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, safety first. That's for sure. Um, who
Okay,
would have
so
thought?
yeah, I really like.
Oh, you are
I'm looking at the
fast.
brush you're using right now, and um, I like those kind of clear handled acrylic brushes that they sell at like Hobby Lobby and Michaels, and the they last about a week for me, but I still will buy them, and I don't know. There's something about the clear handle and the little kind of weird rubber pencil grip on it
Right?
that keeps me coming back and buying more. And I just before we started took a look at what brushes I was going to use, and earlier I threw away some, and one of them was one of those kind of clear brushes. How hard are you on your brushes?
Oh, I destroy them. And
Excellent.
it's funny you say that because I'm really digging deep for brushes right now, and it's funny you notice that because I need to place an order soon. It's time. I'm painting with nubs.
Yep. Some of
So,
my best work has been done with brushes that are no more than sticks, though. So
yes, you got them
I've
broken in.
yeah, I'm not too attached to the idea of new brushes equaling like better quality work.
Me neither. Now,
And
paint might be another story.
yes, although when I first started 9 years ago, the paint I was using
Yes.
was pretty abysmal as well. So I was painting on, I don't know what kind of materials you started with, but I painted on old bits of shotgun houses that were being torn apart. And I was using free craft paint that I was given. And
Aw.
I would also go to the local Michaels where I was on Manhattan. And this is on the West Bank of New Orleans. And they would have all these deals on paint, and you could get all sorts of different paint. So I just got gouache, oil, acrylic, whatever was like under 25 cents a tube, I would just
Oh,
grab.
yeah. You
And
sure?
I used all the finest in secondhand and unwanted materials for the first year.
That was probably very economical though, because, you're learning, and I did the same thing. I truly did the same thing. I held off on oils for that very reason. I painted with acrylics for the longest time for economics of the
Hmm.
whole thing.
So, how long have you been using oil?
Um, oh my goodness. I started my blog in 2006. So shortly before that,
Okay.
I went exclusively to oils. I started in college with watercolors and then went to acrylic, which I like, but it's just so unforgiving. It's just maybe I'd like it now that I paint faster,
Hmm.
but um, I don't know. I love the oils.
I like the water soluble oils because they have a little bit faster of a dry time, and I don't have to use because I don't really have a studio. I don't have to use solvents either indoors or outside in like national parks or state parks or like trust land or anything. Because I mean, there's really nowhere for me to deposit um, any kind of rags or anything.
That's a good that's a good idea. I would not have guessed that you're not using oils. I don't know why. I guess it just
Well, I'm using water
it's good.
soluble oil, so
Oh,
you
I'm sorry.
can.
I missed that. I was
Oh, yeah, oh
deep,
no,
deep
you
in
can.
thought here.
Well, I also started off with gouache and acrylic, but and then I kind of went to oil and tried that, and it was a little bit too much. So I settled on this newfangled kind of cobra oils or the water soluble ones, and I
Okay.
really like them. And if I need to, I can use oil mediums and make them into full oils. And if I need to, I can also um, use some acrylic mediums too and have it dry super fast. Although recently, I don't know if you use mediums, but I don't use any mediums anymore.
All I use is odorless terpenoid. I guess would you
Okay.
call that a medium? I don't really use it for painting, just cleaning the brushes in between.
Yeah.
And thin washes when I'm starting out.
Well,
I'm very
uh, yeah, I see that you're using some thin paint. I I get so impatient with thin paint. I just go like I go straight to kind of thick paint and I put it on, and if I need to, I scrape it down a little, like I'm doing right now with a palette knife, or um, sometimes I'll wipe it out. Yeah, there's
well.
a
What you're
whole. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, what you're doing is working though. It looks really good. I start thin and then I get thicker. Well, my skies are always thick. I guess I kind of start there, but um,
Mhm.
yeah, that rabbit hole of getting so much on there and then scraping. I try to start kind of thin and kind of do my darks and then build up as I get lighter. They're thicker. Seems to be how I do it. I don't know if there's any wrong way.
Well, if there is a wrong way, I've definitely done my fair share of it.
Well, me too. Lots of trial and error, and it seems like there are times I'm working harder and backwards too.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Well, I mean, when you're dealing with mostly landscapes, whether it's a cityscape or just kind of the wilds of nature, you have to be somewhat more willing to be creative in a technical sense than I think maybe sometimes you would if you were doing more of a still life or figurative work, or if you were just maybe more concerned with having a certain theme or context to your pieces. I feel as though everything that I've ever done that has any kind of statement to it, that just hasn't been an interpretation of something I've experienced, I've always sort of allowed the meaning I'm trying to put in it to do some of my lifting for me.
That's good.
And I think with as I get further and further into landscape painting, I am more concerned with not letting that happen and actually figuring out how to create interest without including something, I don't know, sort of dramatic or
Like
traumatic.
stylistic.
Yeah, because there's a certain pitfall that I think I don't know about you, but I feel as though I could easily fall into placing too much emphasis on certain things in my work, or I don't know. I sometimes want to paint certain thematic subjects, but I never can actually pull it off.
I know what you mean. Well, and like you said, that can be a pitfall to rely on that, if I'm understanding you correctly, what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, this whole thing of trying to figure out how to mix colors on a palette, looking at the other person's piece, looking at your piece, and actually making sense while you speak is still beyond me. So if you're ever lost with whatever I'm speaking about, yeah, it's one of the casualties of paint casting, at least in the beginning.
It is
right
tricky.
Now.
Right. Very tricky.
I like the blue of these boats, and I'm not using a very cool blue. I'm using French ultramarine in my palette, so I sort of have to maybe go even a little bit more violet in order to get that sort of intensity.
Yes, it's tough to make it pop with because that's my palette. I stick with that blue a lot, and I've been finding myself thinking, I need maybe something that has a little more intensity to capture
Hmm.
that aqua blue. I'm going to use some artistic license here. I was thinking about all that blue and all that green, and I'm going to have at least one of those kayaks be a nice bright orange.
It's a good idea.
Well, one thing I learned from Fred Delariso,
Uh-huh.
and I know he learned this from somebody, and I hate to quote which artist because I could be wrong, so I probably shouldn't. But he said,
I'm always
especially
wrong.
me too, and I'd hate to give credit to the wrong person, although I wish I could remember the person. It may come to me later. Um, he walked up to Fred, and Fred was painting something, struggling with something in the foreground of
Hmm.
his plein air work. And he looked at Fred and he said, just because it's there doesn't mean you have to paint it. If an elephant walked into a room and you were painting a figure, would you paint it? And he's like, oh, okay. Because, we get caught up and we want
Oh
to
yeah.
you want to record where you're at, but you could do that with a camera. So if you're painting, maybe you're seeing something that the viewer wouldn't see normally in a
Yeah.
photograph. So
Some
why
very
not?
sound advice. I know that I am normally too lazy to include everything, and I habitually leave out cars, people, animals, objects, uh, flags, plants, anything that would say a human being has been here. I sometimes will skip around it.
I do the same thing. And
I've tried
sometimes,
to include them before, and then the painting sort of becomes all about a vehicle or becomes all about a house, and then I really can't save it, and I don't like it anymore. So
right. There was something that drew you to that picture or to that scene to paint, and there's nothing wrong with sticking to it.
most times, what draws me to painting things is I see something and I am interested in it as I look at it, and then as I kind of turn and my eye darts around, and I sort of like to see where my eye ends up through what I'm looking at. And I like to sort of squint and blur my vision and do other things to impair it. And then my ego starts to kick in, and I think, okay, so this is all interesting. Can you make it more interesting?
That's a good idea.
Most of the time, the answer is no. But I try.
And that's what counts.
I sure hope so.
It does. Well, and you're showing the viewer something that caught your eye, and
Okay. You know,
sometimes, Jean, I think it's more beautiful than a photo. Sometimes, I mean, that sounds really, but if it's an overcast day or like you said, there's lots of cars or something, maybe just picking and choosing what you paint might streamline and simplify that scene and make it more interesting.
a lot of times what I find interesting um, is apart from what I perceive other people would find interesting. And I really like uh, trash receptacles and dumpsters, and I like recycling centers.
Yes.
And if it was up to
Industrial.
me, I would do a lot more painting of those places. Um, I also don't want to just be. Uh, I'm afraid that if I start, I'm really going to go in the deep end of that kind of thing, though.
Down a rabbit hole.
Oh yes.
I love finding beauty in the mundane. An artist eye, I'm sure you find yourself almost overstimulated when you see something beautiful and it's a trash can, but it's the way the light's hitting it. Um, there's nothing wrong with that, but like you said, how will others how will others see that? I don't know. I love seeing other people's work though that focus on finding beauty in surprising places.
Yeah, there's only so much time in my day for um, general bullshit, though, because I support my wife and two kids and our traveling habit by painting and by um, selling paintings and doing commission work. And I need to keep um, I need to
Absolutely.
keep sort of a focus in the back of my mind on um, if the direction I'm headed will be somewhat beneficial.
Right, right.
Yeah,
I'm
because
I'm in the I'm in the same boat. I could go work at Walmart. I could be a greeter, or I used to be a dental assistant.
a
So many
dental
years.
assistant.
Yes, years
Wow.
ago, many years ago. But I would have to go back to school and retrain because it was so long ago that I would have to get licensed, and it's so different now. Back when I did that, you really were an assistant. Now they're drilling and or
Yeah.
well, not drilling, but they're filling cavities and they're just doing so much more. So it was a different world when I was a dental assistant. So it sounds way more interesting and fascinating saying I was than what I really was. But
Huh.
I'm a stay-at-home mom and my kids are older. I have three young adults, two are married. I have two grandkids and one getting married and graduating college next year. And we have a 12-year-old who's starting middle school next year. Or this fall. So
Hmm.
we've kind of got the gamut.
Yes, you have a lot on
And
your plate.
I need to pay bills. My husband has a great job, but I want to help and I have to make this work. You know, some people think, oh, you're painting for you. And yes, of course I am. But I'm also painting to pay the bills. This is my job. And I'm learning. And there are times I'm sick and tired of maybe painting a cow or a commission. But
Mm.
you got to do what you got to do so that you can paint. Because there are days
Oh.
I think I could probably make more money being a greeter at the store or a more consistent job at the store,
Hmm.
stocking shelves, and there's nothing wrong with those jobs, I'm telling you. But boy, being able to paint and kind of follow my theme, I can't
Hmm.
complain. This is very unusual for me to start the way I'm painting. Normally, I would have done those trees right away,
Yes.
but I think I
I
felt
was going
a
to
little
ask you that
hurt
before I got lost on some other
top to
tangents.
bottom. Yours is looking very nice, by the way.
Well, you're too kind.
Oh, no, no. I yes, I always start top to bottom for the most part. I think I felt the pressure of painting online and recording that I wanted to get the harder part done first, what I considered the harder part.
Okay.
So
Which
thankfully it kind of
is
worked out. We'll see.
the water and the water reflection.
I think so. Water and getting the figures, the people, the boats, and the rocks. Um, they're not verbatim what you're looking at in the photo, but it's working. So So
Yeah,
this
I'm,
is
I'm not sure how I feel about rocks. I'm thinking I feel the same about rocks as I do about clouds, where if if they're not if they don't look like they could move, or that they're just kind of barely in place, I'm not interested in it. I like to have everything in a way sort of look like it could move at any moment. I don't know if I ever really achieved that, but in the back of my mind, that's one of the things I'm going for.
interesting. I love the rock because I love having the dark and then the dynamic light, the contrast, which I kind of lost a little bit of my dark there. I kind of got a little carried away, and I might have to go back in and fix that dark spot there. But now you like clouds, though. You paint them well. You paint a lot of them. I think they're one of my favorite things to paint.
Yeah, I'm a little I'm a little obsessed with clouds and the negative space and cloud holes. It sounds like you're saying something filthy.
Oh, I know. It's like tree holes and cloud
Yeah,
holes. It sounds pretty dirty, but
yeah.
yeah, they can be. They're a lot of work, but they're definitely a thing.
I have tried sometimes to put some some more geometry in those negative spaces, like just straight up making circles and squares in the sky. And I like how it comes out. And those are some of the pieces that are um, the least regarded on social media. And uh, I, believe it or not, I've actually had some people DM me and tell me how much they disliked them and how they
Oh,
felt I was going in a weird direction.
well, it's funny you say that because I actually remember those, and those stuck out to me. Those were very memorable to me. So yeah, it's funny how everybody has different taste.
Yes. And since I kind of started out being very mercurial out on out in the French Quarter and out on Frenchmen in New Orleans and painting in public all the time and
Oh yeah.
listening to people's criticisms and turning it around and actually selling things, um, I still maybe pay too much attention to it in some ways.
That's the human factor. It's hard not to.
Have you ever done like the coffee shop Starbucks painting thing?
I met a friend at a little coffee shop recently, well, pre-COVID,
Okay.
and I was so excited about it. I really enjoyed it, and we talked about meeting at least once a month to do that, and then COVID came along. So
Yeah.
I'm really sad. I'm hoping to pick that back up one of these days.
Yes. I I did that for like a solid, um, I think maybe 3 years
Wow.
while I was on the road, just before I left and kind of ended my business in Louisiana. And I sort of replaced the desire to be around other people while I was working from tourism to people getting coffee. And it, it I got a lot of work done. Did you finish a painting when you were in the coffee shop? Did
I
you like
did, but I
blast right
was
through it?
um I did, but I was working on the little coaster paintings. So I
Hmm.
did, I think three by threes, So they were very small, and it was lunchtime, and people were busy. Not too many people really stopped to talk or ask
Hmm.
questions at the time, probably because I was painting with another person. It kind of maybe deterred people from walking up and actually conversing, I think. So I
Oh, I don't
didn't
want
think
people to
that.
talk to me, Heidi.
What's that?
I don't want people to talk to me.
Oh, me neither. Go away.
I just want the stress of having their eyes on what I'm doing.
Yes, yes. I like that. It
And this is where I really, uh, I'm not sure if I like putting thick green paint on. And when it comes to trees, especially when it's like that really intense early summer kind of green,
yes.
I know that it needs it, but I don't know. I just kind of want to make it brown.
Tone it down.
Yeah.
So you're not a fan of green.
No, green in nature is fine because it's moving. I'm just,
Yes.
whenever green is still, especially like a chartreuse or like an emerald kind of green, it's, yeah, I'm not a big fan. And
I It's funny you bring that up because I guess I paint so much green now that I forgot how much I used to despise it.
oh, really?
Oh my goodness, yes. Because Indiana, we have a lot of gorgeous green, but it can be intimidating and boring.
Mhm.
So I'm getting what you're saying about green. I think what helps me is I try to get all the different values and all the different kinds of green help keep me interested.
Hmm.
The never ending challenge of that.
I like how what you have there. I see um, some warmer green, and you've kept your stones and your foliage highlight roughly the same value,
Yes.
which works. And I kind of went all over the place with mine.
I like it
Um,
though. It looks good. You've got the highlights and the darks. It's working. And the rocks are
oh,
nice and warm.
I keep trying to lean back in my seat here and figure out what this is doing and what it needs. I think I'm going to try violet there because yeah, violet canoe, maybe. So, did you
Yes,
grow up in Indiana?
I did. Homegrown in Indiana.
Oh, now did you have like, um, did you grow up in a city or were you kind of rural or?
I'm in the second largest city in Indiana.
Okay,
Indianapolis is our first. I think we have maybe 300,000 people, 400,000 people in our city. So
that's
it's not too
enough.
shabby. Yeah, it's a pretty busy city. Got everything we need. I just
Uh,
love that you guys travel and have an RV. I think I saw a little bit of that over the years that you guys now are you
yeah,
stationary now or do you move around a lot still for painting or
uh, we move a good amount. We were in the Sedona area when lockdown first came, so we were
Mhm.
there for a solid 2 months, and then we have been moving up more north. We were in Idaho for about a month, and we've been here in Montana for a little over a month as well. And we're just about ready to start moving back down into Wyoming and then Colorado and then going back across and ultimately back down to Florida where we are domiciled. So I'm a resident of the state of Florida. It surprises a lot of people.
What surprises a lot of people?
That I'm a Floridian.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up in Connecticut, and my wife grew up in Rhode Island.
Oh, wow.
And when we got on the road, we had everything registered up there, and it was kind of expensive. And we knew that we wanted to most likely homeschool our daughter, so Florida became a good option.
I really admire that. That's awesome.
It's it's always been a challenge to work and move, and for a long time we were doing that half the year and living in New Orleans the other half, and but I think it's worth it, and I've been hearing a lot about the woes of other people having to try to work with their kids at home.
Yeah,
because
we're
the
all
schools
getting
closed.
that, right.
Yeah, and I'm happy that I didn't have to do this and then suddenly start to homeschool,
Oh, yeah. Unprepared, right.
Yeah. I'm hoping that putting some violet in the trees is going to help me out. I'm not using a warm red. I'm using a magenta. So I don't want to get too crazy between like violet and green.
Right.
Because it always reminds me of a specific Garbage Pail Kid card back in the mid 80s. Maybe you were maybe you were a little bit too old to really get taken by the Garbage Pail Kids.
I remember them. They were weird.
Yeah, I was born in 78, so in 84 and 85, it was really a thing. Kids used to come to school and they would have purchased Garbage Pail Kids on their way at like convenience stores, and then we'd open packs up. And I'm not sure exactly what the cards were, but I know that one that was purple and green was always so disgusting. And I really liked another one that was orange that had some Garbage Pail Kid. I don't know. He was like turned into a meteor or something. or maybe they like threw him into a volcano or something ridiculous that they could never get away with now.
That's hilarious. Yeah, they were a little dark, weren't they?
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
how times have changed.
indeed. All right, and I'm using my palette knife a lot to start to put shapes in, and I kind of wanted to focus more because when I saw the piece, I saw how many levels of foliage there was, and I said, oh, this is an opportunity for you to use a brush and sort of not get too thick too fast, Chris, and that's exactly what I did. I just apparently went for it.
I think your face looks good.
I think I need to do some sky holes. I need to focus on my sky holes a little.
Well, your
Yep.
shapes look good. I think my trees look like confetti right now, so I
No,
need to kind of bring
it's
them together a little bit.
it's cool to have to be painting with someone who is kind of as quick and somewhat cavalier in certain regards as I am, because it allows me to see where you're going and how you fix things. And that's interesting. A lot of other people I painted with have been a little bit more methodical,
Mm-hmm.
and they haven't been quick to actually get all of the paint on there. And that's one of the things that pops out in my mind about this video, is that you and I just both kind of really went for it. I mean, it might just be the scale, or it might just be how we're used to doing our own work, but it's nice to see someone working on a complete image.
Right. Yes, all over the board. I agree. That is the most exciting thing for me because when I first started painting many years ago, that was my problem. I would be so methodical and I would work all day and I wasn't happy with my results when I was done. And I think over the years, I've just gotten less tight with my work. That was my goal.
Mhm.
Loosen up that work. And I'm just so excited, especially for someone else to say that. That's very nice to hear
Good.
because it's been a long journey.
Yeah. I still have a hard time believing how many pieces I make in a week sometimes. And it's probably the main way I teach myself how to do things, because I'm not going to be taking classes. I mean, I really can't take classes or workshops because I can't schedule that far ahead.
Right?
And now I'm at the point where a lot of what I feel I need um, is something that can be easily learned with repetition or with experimentation. Um, I'm a
Yes.
little, yeah. So I think I need to do the smaller paintings as often as I can. It's really been helping me sort of get past some blocks. Do you, you said earlier that you had taken in large paintings into the gallery. I really haven't seen a lot of your large work. Do you not post it? I know that I personally kind of shy away from posting a lot of larger work and commission work on
Right.
Instagram. Um, how often do you work like in a large scale?
Well, a lot of it is because I haven't been.
Oh, okay.
I really honestly am just so in love with these small paintings, and I feel like I probably have, I at least work most of my days I'm painting and posting something online. And I just fell in love with the whole daily painters work movement that
Hmm.
started in like, I think I was right at the beginning of it at 2006 when people started posting their small paintings
Uh-huh.
online. And it's very hard for me to paint on a larger scale. I, if I get a commissioned inquiry, they're usually for larger paintings. And I do those when I can, but I have a hard, I'll be honest, I feel it's difficult to transition to a larger piece.
Hmm.
And I haven't been showing in galleries for a while now because of that. I'm just so busy with smaller paintings that
Hmm.
but I as my kids grow up and I'm just have a little bit more time, I would like to maybe start getting back into having pieces in the gallery that are exclusive to, not being online and everything. So I'm hoping to get back into that soon, within the next couple years, as my time frees up. Because I do miss it a little bit, but I just love cranking out the smaller ones. Like you said, you learn so much and you are less intimidated. You take more risks, try new things.
Indeed, yeah.
So,
Oh, so I think I'm nearing a point where I could get fussy with the
yeah.
piece, and I think I'm going to maybe try to put in a few um, pieces of paint that allude to some of the kind of, it looks like either birch, like those white birch bark.
Yes,
Yeah, that's what you have in Indiana, right? Like
we
birch.
do. We do have
I,
a
I,
lot.
I, I was also almost going to say aspen, but I know that that's out west here. Um,
Right.
I'm going to try to put some of those in, see if it works.
That's the trick, isn't it? Not getting fussy and it's like knowing when to walk away. Oh my goodness, that can
Yep,
catch you in a trap right there.
that is always the number one um, issue I have. And so often that's why I've destroyed pieces I've made, because I've taken a look at it and just not been
I
happy
have
with it.
It's yes, it is so discouraging because you may have a fairly decent painting that's fresh, and then the hardest part is saying, okay, walk away right now. And then you start dinking with it, especially portraits. Oh my goodness, I start dinking around and it's like, oh, I just destroyed it. So then you're scraping and trying to get fresh again. It's very discouraging. Number one, uh,
I'm going
problem.
to be trying to do some more portraits this summer. I haven't done many for the past few months, and it's interesting that you just mentioned that. Um, I was thinking about trying more figures in the landscape too, uh, and I see that you have been doing some, or that you've been posting some with people swimming in water,
Yes.
and your people are so simple. It's Yeah, I'm impressed. They're like 4 strokes, and it's a little person, and I know that you could keep going with it and keep pushing it, and I just think that you make some really good decisions, and I am a fan because I think that you do a lot of good stopping.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, those people, oh my goodness, they are a challenge stopping. And I've just been doing lots of squinting, and people don't realize the simpler it is, the harder it is.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole podcast on what we perceive people don't realize.
Oh, for sure. Yes, absolutely. That's true.
So I think I am going to put the last small violet highlight in, and it's going to be done for me. So as I do this, do you have a website or any show that you'd like to plug?
I
Uh,
just have my website, HeidiMalott.com. I'm on Daily Painters, so you can find me there if you can't spell my name. It's
I was about to ask you how you pronounce your last name. For some reason, in my mind, I wasn't sure whether it was like a French pronunciation or whether it was just like a flat English one. So I didn't know whether it was Malot or Malo or something, or whether it was
it's
Mallet.
it is not like the hammer, mallet. Um, we always know when we have phone solicitations when they ask for a mallet. It is French, and I think it was probably originally pronounced mallet, or I'm sorry, Malo.
Hmm.
But with the two T's, I've just always been told it's pronounced Malat, and it
Okay,
just like a lot Malat, a lot Malat. So,
gotcha.
but it's probably a downfall. It's very difficult probably to find me because it could be spelled so many different ways. So,
Hey, it was a lot of fun painting with you today, Heidi. Thank you
yeah,
so much. And I will put all your info in the description. And let's do this again.
awesome. I would love to. Did you sign yours yet?
Uh, no, I'm not sure where I'm going to sign. Are you going to sign right now?
I can.
Because,
I think I'm
well,
going to have to, so I
well,
walk away. I don't want
well,
to.
yeah. Why don't we do the dual signing thing at the same
Okay.
time?
Sounds
Okay.
exciting.
Okay.
Get my paint ready.
Oh, I just mucked that up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll clean that up in post.
All righty.
Bye.
We'll see you, Chris.